Mealtimes without power struggles. How I make eating enjoyable for my child. Mealtimes with my 3-year-old toddler daughter used to be filled with frustration and power struggles, turning what should be a pleasant experience into a daily challenge. However, creating mealtimes without power struggles and making eating enjoyable for my child has been a significant focus for me as a parent. Over time, I've learned practical ways to transform our meals into enjoyable moments, without the stress and battles that used to last for 20 minutes or more. In this episode, I'll explain how I achieve mealtimes without power struggles by listening to her needs and making mealtimes a moment of joy rather than a source of tension. 1. Listening to her hunger cues. One of the most important changes I made was to truly listen to my daughter when it comes to her hunger. She is very clear about when she's hungry and when she's full, so I've learned to trust her instincts. Instead of insisting that she eats at specific times or finishes everything on her plate, I pay attention to her cues. She knows her body best, and when she says she's full, I respect that. This approach has taken the pressure off both of us, making mealtime more about enjoyment rather than obligation. Example: if she says, "I'm full," even if she's only eaten a small amount, I don't push her to eat more. I'll respond with, "Okay, let's stop here then," trusting that her body knows when she's full. I'll ask her, "Do you want to save it for later?" If she says yes, we wrap up the meal and she knows she can come back to it when she's hungry again. Sometimes she communicates not with words, but with her behavior. For instance, if she starts getting up from her chair or playing with her toys instead of focusing on her meal, I know that eating may no longer be her priority. When I see this, I ask her, "Do you not want to eat anymore?" If she responds that she doesn't, I say, "When you don't want to eat anymore, you can say, 'Daddy, I don't want to eat anymore.'" This helps her learn how to express her feelings verbally next time, and it creates a clearer line of communication between us. 2. Balancing desserts and main meals. While I don't enforce a strict clean plate rule at every meal, I do set a boundary when it comes to dessert. For instance, if my daughter wants dessert, she needs to finish her main meal first. I've noticed that if she really wants the dessert, she'll finish her meal on her own. On the other hand, if she chooses not to finish and says she's full, I respect that decision too. I figure that if she's not willing to eat more to get dessert, she must truly be full or just not interested in what's on her plate for that meal. This balance helps her listen to her own hunger signals without me forcing her to eat more than she wants. This approach to balancing the main meal and dessert is quite flexible, and I adapt it depending on the effort I perceive she's making. For example, if I serve her a meal with pasta in a quantity that she usually eats, and I see that she only eats 2 pieces of pasta, I won't give her dessert. I don't want her to develop the habit of eating just a tiny bit of the main meal and then moving straight to dessert. On the other hand, if she eats half of the pasta and is struggling to finish but still wants dessert, I'll allow her to have it, either all of it or just a portion. Why? Because I've realized that in such cases, she's likely already had a little something before the meal. I've learned that we can't always control everything. For instance, grandparents, uncles, or aunts might give her a snack to hold her over before the meal. We don't always see this happening or know about it before the meal begins. Instead of asking her directly, "Did you eat something before dinner?" I prefer to observe her actions. Does she eat only 2 pieces of pasta, or does she finish half of the plate I've served her? It's not that I don't want to ask her, but I recognize that her brain may not yet be mature enough to give me the answer I'm expecting. Often she'll refer to something that happened this morning, in her perception as a child, but in my adult perception, that event happened weeks ago, not this morning. In the article titled, "Cognitive Milestones 0 to 18 Years Old, What Your Child's Brain Can Do," I discuss the different stages of brain development from birth to 18 years. We try to prepare balanced meals for her throughout the week. It's not that dessert is necessarily unbalanced, but the nutrients her body needs to function well are mainly found in the main meal, not the dessert. I want to ensure that her body gets what it needs, and the main meal is key to that. This concept of balancing the main meal and dessert is something we have established, and it can be seen as a controlled consequence rather than a natural consequence. In the article titled, "What are natural consequences and what are not?" I delve deeper into the distinction between controlled and natural consequences. 3. No pressure to finish the plate. I've realized that there's no need to pressure her to finish what I serve. Through my observations, I've noticed that when she doesn't eat much at one meal, she often makes up for it at the next one, or even the following day. For example, if she skips or eats lightly during one meal, she'll be the one asking if the next meal is ready, likely because her body is telling her she's hungry. This reassurance has helped me relax about her eating habits. I trust that she listens to her own body's cues. Since we serve meals around the same times each day, she usually feels hungry roughly 30 minutes before the scheduled meal. This consistency allows her to regulate her own appetite without me forcing her to eat more than she wants. As long as she's getting enough food overall, there's no need to stress about every single meal. She knows when she's hungry, and she'll let me know when she's ready to eat. 4. Respecting her food preferences. Respecting my daughter's food preferences has been another key to making mealtimes smoother. For instance, one day, I planned to warm up her meal straight from the fridge, but she surprised me by saying she wanted to eat the pasta cold. To make sure, I offered her a bite and asked if she preferred it cold or warmed up a bit. She was clear that she wanted it cold, so I put the cold pasta in her bowl. When it came to the chicken, I told her I would warm it up, but she insisted on having it cold as well. So I served her the chicken with pasta and sauce. However, she didn't want the sauce and asked me to remove it. I explained that I couldn't take the sauce off once it was already on the plate. She began to cry, and I realized that I hadn't asked her if she wanted sauce on her pasta, so I calmly told her that I would eat the pasta with sauce myself, as I hadn't served myself yet, and instead gave her a new serving of cold pasta with chicken without the sauce. To my delight, she ate everything independently and without any resistance. By respecting her preferences and giving her the choice, even when it wasn't what I initially expected, she felt more in control and enjoyed her meal without any battles. I've realized that trying to force her to eat or making her follow my rules about food creates unnecessary power struggles. If she says she doesn't want more, I don't push her. Trying to convince her otherwise just turns into a battle of wills, which I've learned to avoid. By respecting her choices and letting her have some control over her meals, we both enjoy a more peaceful mealtime experience. In this episode, I've shared how I create mealtimes without power struggles with my child by listening to her hunger cues, respecting her food preferences, and avoiding unnecessary battles. My goal is to make mealtimes a positive and stress-free experience for both of us. I hope that by sharing my approach, you find some helpful ideas for your own mealtime routines. Next up, we have an episode titled How I Stopped the Potty Training Battle with My Toddler. I'll share what worked for us and how it reduced stress for both of us.